Design It is the second stage in the project management process. It will allow you to construct your project effectively by looking at the different factors involved. Design It looks at 5 different factors. We have time planning, rethinking your time planning, cost and benefit planning, stakeholders and quality, and finally risks and opportunities management. In this video, we will be focusing on the time planning, as this is primarily where you need to start to make sure your project runs smoothly. When beginning a project, it is of utmost importance to time plan the various tasks in order to carry out the project. A simple way of doing this is to deconstruct the project into different tasks and parts. They can then be arranged in order of importance and given a time frame of when each task has to be completed by. The most effective way of doing this is through the use of a Gantt chart. The most basic method of deconstructing the project in order to get an overview is to complete a work breakdown structure. This identifies the tasks in a hierarchy of the most important and shows which ones need to be carried out before another can begin. This demonstrates that many tasks are dependent upon others. There are a few different ways in which you can break down the project. You can break down a project using an activity breakdown structure. This lists the key activities to be undertaken. Other ways include a functional breakdown. Now, in order to run a project effectively, the work breakdown structure will not be enough. The project manager will also have to carry out a product breakdown structure, which analyzes the outcomes of the project. When project planning, a key element is estimating. The project manager has to estimate on timings using previous experience to give a rough idea of deadlines and use of resources. Towards the end of the project, the estimation will become more accurate as projects are completed, allowing the true timings to be understood. One method of getting these estimations down in a logical way is through the activity on node. This is a time management tool which allows the user to calculate the critical path of a project. The critical path, as the name would suggest, is the most important path, where deadlines need to be met. Any excess time taken whilst on the critical path will result in the whole project taking longer than anticipated. But how do we calculate the critical path? We use the activity on node method. The diagram above shows one node. It is split into 7 sections, with the activity's name being the central piece. The top can be calculated using research as to how long a particular activity within a project would take. You plot the earliest start time, then the duration, and finally the earliest finish time, which is simply a calculation of the earliest start time plus the duration. However, at this stage you cannot calculate the bottom. We need to calculate the top row for all of the nodes within the project before we can begin to work out the bottom row. This is because we work backwards to calculate the bottom row from end to finish. We also work backwards to calculate the critical path. This is where the nodes in all row have a float of 0. The float is simply the difference between the latest start time and the earliest start time, subtracting one from the other. The latest finish time is simply calculated by finding the latest finish time within the simultaneous activities. Nodes can be linked together to create a time management diagram. This can be done once the nodes are listed in order, highlighting which activities can run together and which activities rely on others first before being completed. So in the current example, activities 2 and 3 can run simultaneously at the same time. However, the diagram also shows that these activities cannot begin until activity 1 is finished. This makes activity 1 a predecessor to activities 2 and 3, something the activities rely on being completed before they can begin. A real-world example would be that you cannot decide on a project 2 and assign job roles 3 until initial research has been taken place, i.e. 1. The arrows in the diagram show the movement of work, so we work through the tasks from left to right. As previously mentioned, this method allows the critical path to be calculated. This is the most important path where there is no flexibility regarding start times and duration of the activities. Should the activity take longer than anticipated, the whole project will be delayed. In this example, the top line is the critical path as the float of all nodes is 0. So just to recap, this was calculated by doing the latest start time minus the earliest start time. Remember, we work backwards to calculate the bottom line of each node. The final stage of time planning is using a Gantt chart. This is usually created using the program Microsoft Project. This can be used alongside the work and product breakdown structure. The use of the Gantt chart illustrates the relationships between activities, plotting them on a graph and allowing you to see which tasks need to be started when and which tasks can't start until others have been completed. This approach is very visual, as you can see the breakdown through the bars showing the length of the activity and using colour schemes to identify priority tasks. As you can see from the diagram, the Gantt chart allows you to set exact dates of when certain tasks need to be finished by. By setting predecessors when one task cannot start until another is finished, the Gantt chart will show you which date and time frame you need to complete the first task to allow the next to start. This is known as forward scheduling. The Gantt chart also allows you to input the resources used for each activity. However, this does have its limitations, as it does not consider the link between time and cost. If a resource costs more than what was estimated, this would respectively have an impact on how long an activity lasts. If we look back at the time management component within the Design It section, it is very simple to follow the elements to ensure your project is accomplished effectively. The work breakdown structure will allow you to see the steps within the project that you need to take. The activity or node will help you make a more accurate plan of timings and costs of the project, enabling you to break down and allocate your budget effectively. Finally, by scheduling and using a Gantt chart, you will be able to keep to your deadlines, and we will see which tasks you have to finish before you can start another. If you follow all of these stages, your project should run smoothly without a hitch. Why don't you try out a few of the quizzes, crosswords and word searches that we have created to help reinforce what you have learnt. If you have any questions, please use our submission box on our home page. We will contact you as we can. Thank you for listening.